and mine includes everything. They also, that's what they is.
Hey, everyone.
Hello.
Hey. Oh, it's so nice to see so many of you. I've been here all summer and it's just been like a ghost town in this entire building. So to have students back is always wonderful. We appreciate you coming. This is really our first big presentation of the semester. I know we have some people on Zoom. I'm assuming they can all hear me well too. Any thumbs up? Okay, well, we'll find out. My name is, thank you. Oh, that's a nice feature now on Zoom. That was fun. My name is Bonnie Garcia-Gloeckner. I'm the Associate Director for the Office of National Fellowships. We're so glad to have you here. How many of you received an email and that's why you're here? Yes, you're reading emails. Yes. Okay, good. This is a really, really cool program, which Florida State has been very fortunate to have a very large Gilman alumni network. And so I'm really excited that we get to share this opportunity with you all. It's one of the few where you can apply multiple times a year. So that's also a nice little perk to it. And we'll get into sort of the nitty-gritty of what that looks like, and then also the application components and some of the events that we have lined up to help with that application cycle coming up. Okay, so what is the Office of National Fellowships? We help students find and then apply to different nationally competitive fellowships and awards. We work with about 60 plus awards, and it's very, very common for students to actually come to us and be like, I found this. Does this fit the definition of a fellowship? And if it does, we'll figure out that application together. We're not shy. We love learning. But what is a fellowship? Right? If you think about a scholarship, it tends to be, here's sort of a lump sum of money, do with it what you will. And fellowships live in this land of, yes, here's money, but it's for a very specific purpose, right? It's for a very specific learning outcome. In this case, it's to study abroad and then come back and talk about your experience and share that with other people, right? In some cases, that fellowship might be, here's funding to do an intensive language study overseas, right? Here's funding so that you can do maybe STEM research domestically at another institution, right? So really runs the gamut. We, in our office, we don't have any specific majors that we work with. We don't close it off to level in school. We are happy to work with anyone and everyone who comes to our office. And furthermore, if you graduate and that's when you decide like, oh, I really wish I had applied to like maybe Fulbright or one of those grad fellow ones. If you're still eligible and you haven't enrolled elsewhere, you are always welcome to come back and work with ONF. So we work with alumni every year too. So don't self-select out. All of these opportunities can be available to you, and we are happy to talk about that more. But today we are talking about Gilman. Oh, shoot, I have to do all the rest of this too. Okay, before we get into that, let's talk about our office really fast. We help students in sort of three ways. One is like the email that you got that said, hey, we're having this workshop, right? Because you can't apply to stuff if you don't know that it exists. We do these workshops, we do alumni panels. So like I said, we have a large Gilman, but we also have plenty of other awards that we can tap into alumni networks, have them talk about their experience. If you go on our YouTube page right now, actually, there's a whole series of talks where we've put on anytime like alumni have come back to talk about their particular awards. I definitely recommend taking a look at that, right? We also work very closely with faculty and staff. So if you're already working with, say, like the Center for Undergraduate Research and Academic Engagement over there with CRE, if you're doing Europe and maybe you are doing honors in the major, maybe you're doing just independent research, we work with all of those offices too, where it's very common for them to say, hey, I have this student, can they come talk to you about X, Y, and Z, right? So if you're already engaging in that way, you might get invitations to come talk to us from faculty members, from those folks as well, right? And then really the bread and butter of our office is the student mentoring. So yes, we help students find those opportunities, figure out what works for them, what might work for them, what might not. But we meet with students very often. Those meetings are one-on-one meetings where we are just going over your written materials. So fellowships and these types of awards, they tend to be like, tell us your deeply held beliefs and why it is you want to go into this particular field, how this fellowship works for you, and also do that in 250 words. And that can be daunting, especially if you're used to having to write an essay that's here's your introduction, your 3 body paragraphs, and your conclusion. There is no room for that, right? So our office helps you to really figure out what parts of my narrative make sense so that I'm still, it still applies to the fellowship and the award that I'm applying to, which parts allow me to show with as much concise but detail as possible why it is that I'm qualified for a particular award. So by and large, our student meetings are just those one-on-one meetings to go over edits. But that first meeting when students come in is typically, what are your major? What's your goal? What are you planning to do after graduation? Let's talk about opportunities that run like parallel to that, right? So these tend to fund other opportunities. They're not necessarily just for tuition. So what opportunities, what experiences are going to supplement what I'm getting in the classroom to make me an even better candidate down the line for the next thing I want to apply to. Okay. And hopefully in working with us, you gain a little bit more knowledge about yourself, but also about the greater community of FSU and what is available around campus. Winning awards is very nice and fun, but I think the reality, and I don't think this is going to shock anyone, they're competitive for a reason, right? So you have to be getting something else out of it than just the award. So the hope is that by working on these applications, by going through this iterative writing process and really reflecting on who you are, you have a better idea of those goals. You have a better idea of how to articulate those goals, right? Those written and communication skills are going to flourish. Maybe you're more prepared for graduate school or professional school. And maybe you're finding other fellowship opportunities, right? I mentioned we work with alumni. Should you come back to FSU for graduate school, there's actually an Office of Graduate Fellowships and Awards that we work with. That's a whole other like opening of opportunities too. So we want to make sure that you are as connected to the on-campus and off-campus offices that make sense for you as well. Okay. All right, so let's talk about Gilman. Yes, sorry, I jumped the gun earlier. So who are Gilman scholars? You have to be Pell eligible, right, to be even eligible to apply for the Gilman. By and large, we have people that are from smaller towns, rural communities, and are typically first gen. It's like about 50-50 now in this last group that came through. They are coming from all parts of the United States. All 50 states end up being represented, usually in each of the cycles that they have. So lots of people applying from very, very different backgrounds and with different goals in mind. And because it's funding study abroad or internships abroad, they could be just like testing something out, right? It might not be that they're necessarily going into that field, but they want to get the experience of what that might be like. So lots of different reasons why people apply for Gilman and how that ends up getting used by different recipients. The mission of Gilman is very simple. They want to be able to expand that US presence abroad. And they want the US student population to be more diverse that is able to go abroad. So they established the Gilman in order to make that more accessible for students from all walks, right? How do I say this? The award itself provides up to $5,000, but that's kind of on a sliding scale. So it depends on how much your particular experience costs, and then they will award sort of based on that. So it's typically not going to cover everything, but it can offset the cost of a study abroad experience. And we work really closely with like international programs, with the Center for Global Engagement, because they do global exchanges. So we're working with some of those partners to make sure that they're aware too of when students are eligible, so that they're contacting us, but also so you are letting them know that you might be receiving the Gilman. Okay. There's also other parts of this award. So say you wanted to do like a critical needs language study while you're abroad, you can actually receive additional funding on top of that. If you are pursuing STEM coursework, You can do, that's another $1,000. These are all subsets of the larger application. So if those are things that appeal to you, just know it's in the application. I think all you do is check a box and then it gives you access to do like the additional essay. So it's not going to cover everything. And usually when we talk to students about this, we're also talking about, okay, how can we supplement past that? So that's where if you're in things like working with CRE, maybe you're already a global scholar, right? There are funds attached to maybe being a Tyler Fellow that can be used for that. We've had folks that have used idea grant money that they've gotten from CRE on top of the Gilman. And so that, again, helps to defray that cost. For international programs, they have their own subset of scholarships also attached to their programs. So we're really trying to maximize what is available to everyone as much as possible if they're going through this process and getting ready. I mean, general eligibility beyond the Pell Grant, you have to be a citizen international of the US, you have to be in good academic standing. Part of that has more to do with the fact that they want to make sure that if you're going overseas, it's not going to be something that is overwhelming, right? They want to make sure that you have the resiliency to handle being overseas. It does need to be credit bearing. So if you are looking at like an internship or shadowing abroad, we'd want to make sure that you're working maybe with your departments to see, is there internship credit that you can get through your department that could be added to your schedule for that semester? Or is there maybe an opportunity to work with the Career Center on some of their experiential learning programs? Can we add credits like that to your account? So if it's not something that you are doing like IP where it's built-in classes, right? You'll just want to make sure that you have something on your schedule for the semester you would be abroad that shows you're receiving credit for the experience. Okay. If you are also the dependent child of or spouse of active or activated military members, you are also eligible for this Gilman McCain Scholarship, which is just a flat $5,000. So we bring this up because every year we have maybe one, but if that applies to you, please come talk to us. Oh, the travel advisory, yeah. So this doesn't tend to be an issue for international programs, but if you are doing, say, your own internship or you've found a different program, excuse me, it must be in a country or area that's currently listed as a level 1 or level 2 for the travel advisories. So obviously they don't want to be sending you into areas where there's an increased risk of any harm, and that is how they mitigate that. So level 1 or level 2. Yeah.
I know that it can change because that's what happened to me. When I applied, it was in level 2, but then after COVID, it turned into level 3 and 4. But what Gilman allows you to do is to switch, and you can change to a different program in a different country.
Yeah. Yeah, we've had many people do that too. It's not uncommon. And there's no minimum length. So that used to be that you had to be gone for at least a semester. And now they have changed it. I mean, if you can show that a week's time in maybe an intensive is what you need to advance to your next step, great. We can talk about that, right? But there is technically no minimum for how long that program needs to be. Okay, so how do they do their selection process? Your applications are reviewed sort of for these 3 main topics. Tell us about the impact of the program and the destination. What is that going to look like on your career trajectory, your academic journey? Okay. They also want to know your preparedness. So how are you going to do when you're overseas? Tell us about times when you've had to be flexible, adaptable, resilient, right? Those are all things that come with being prepared for programs abroad. And then lastly is representing America abroad, right? And that hometown impact. So by going overseas, this is a program that's funded by the State Department. So how are you being the citizen diplomat for the US abroad, right? How are you sharing what it is to be American from your stance, right? Which isn't like hot dogs and 4th of July. It's like, it's about your lived experience. That's what they're trying to get at. And we'll talk about some of the prompts because that can be a little tricky with some of the prompts. And then the hometown impact is you coming back. How are you going to share the Gilman experience with others when you return? So how are you going to share the Gilman experience specifically, but also just being abroad, right? So and that can take many, many forms. Occasionally we have alumni in here with us actually when we talk about Gilman, because that's part of their service when they return, is coming back and talking about their experience to other people that might be interested in applying. So lots of ways to meet those requirements. And then, like I said, with the additional awards, you do have for the STEM, you have to show that there's that commitment to that particular field that you're in. And with the language, you have to show that there's that commitment to proficiency. So however you would like to do that, those are additional essays that go on top of the application. So let's talk about those required essays. If you have friends that have previously been Gilman recipients, the application has changed. Okay, so just so you are aware, it is not the same application that it was last spring. Mainly because now they have these 4 essays, which are all 500 words max. It used to be 3 essays. All of these were sort of in together. And they now tease them apart in ways that we're still figuring out. But we have this motivation for studying or interning abroad. Why is it that you even want to do this? You have an essay that's just looking at your skills and knowledge development through studying abroad. So what are you going to be actually learning? What's the program? How does that, maybe go back to the why that you've discussed in essay 1? Essay 3 is this essay for Gilman Scholars as Citizen Diplomats. This is the 250th anniversary of the US of A. And so they want to know, how are you going to share American culture abroad, right? How are you going to share that 250th year with communities abroad? And then contributions to the US communities and the follow-on service project. So they're investing in you, right? They want to know what's going to happen with that investment when you return. So how is the experience that you've had going to lead to contributions to the US? Maybe it's in your particular field, right? And they want to know, how are you going to share your experience? That's that follow-on service project. People have done the follow-on service, like I said, here, alumni talking about their experiences. We've had people that have talked about, like, well, the high school I went to, I really wish someone had told us about things like Gilman when I was in high school. And they've gone back and done like college readiness type of presentations if they're still close with teachers. It can be something more in the community. So maybe it's you talking, at your church. Maybe it's you talking with your professors on campus with some sort of larger event, right? Making yourself available for different opportunities. If you saw the Planning Your Impactful Summer series that's going on, right? You'll notice that there's a few people in there that are Gilman recipients, and part of why they're there is to help with that follow-on service project. So I can talk about this all day. I enjoy it. But I think that eventually you would probably want to hear from someone who actually went, which is also good because Ting-E has gone. So if you have questions, you can talk about the Gilman too. But yeah, I think it's important to keep in mind that there's a lot of ways to approach that. And the best way is to do it in a fashion that aligns with what you enjoy doing anyway, right? It's like, if you are an avid outdoors, or maybe you're like me, you're more of an indoor kid, right? So then you decide, well, I'm gonna go talk like at the, what is it called now? Just the Lake Bradford. Do you know what I'm talking about with the climbing wall and the?
Oh, the
rest.
rest.
Is it still called that?
Oh,
Okay.
no, lakefront.
I think it's called Lakefront. Yeah, it's something else. But anyway, if you propose, well, I'm gonna go over there and do like an outdoor event and get people excited, like, how does that mesh with who you are and what you're trying to accomplish, right? If you're an English major and you're like, well, I'm gonna go talk to all of these like people on the other side of campus that are all the STEM folks, like, what does that have to do with your story, right? So you want to make sure that it's something that connects with who you are and the communities that you engage with anyway, so that it feels more authentic. And then, yes, for the supplemental essays, they're 300 words each. You have that critical needs language and you have that STEM supplemental. And like I mentioned, it's just showing commitment to both of those things. Okay, so the application process. This makes it seem so easy. Step 1, step 2, complete. Step 1 is to write your essays, to upload those transcripts, to input your advisor info, to talk about your program. That's all just the online portal. I don't believe it's available right now. I don't think they've updated it quite yet, but it should be available relatively soon. But you can see a sample of it down below if you'd like. One thing that you'll notice on here that is a little different from a lot of other fellowship applications is it doesn't ask about letters of recommendation. Gilman does not require you to have any, right? They just want to hear about the program from you, how it's going to impact you. They do not need outside letters of recommendation for your application. So we're actually having some office hours next week so that if people have specific questions, they can come in and ask us about that. Or if you've already started writing and you're like, am I on the right track? You know, and you want us to look at maybe a small draft that you have, we're happy to do that too during those hours. So, you know, please come and talk to us. The other thing that we will be doing is on the actual due date. Are we running it from 4 to 6?
Oh, wait.
3 to 6? On the actual due date, we will be having another open writing time. So please come, we get food, everyone just sits at the tables upstairs in the Great Hall and people just work on their applications. Now, of course, we want people working on those applications early. We don't want you coming in with no application materials at the start of that writing exercise. But if you don't have everything finalized, that's totally fine. The whole point is, here's a whole cohort of people. We're all sort of body doubling together to get this done. And we'll make sure that you're ready to go for that application deadline that night. Okay. So step 1, sort of that front end going onto the website, getting that started. Step 2 is going to go to your study abroad advisor and your financial aid advisor. If you're applying for an international programs program, the study abroad advisor and the financial aid advisor will both be people that are over there, because they're going to have to verify, yes, this is what this program is about, and yes, this is how much it costs, right? If you are not going through them, we have other people that can approve the financial aid side of it. But you would list someone in our office as the study abroad advisor in that scenario. Yeah.
How would we like pick one? Because it says contact them before you submit it. Would we just like, I guess, like schedule a meeting with like whoever's available and ask them to be our advisor? So
this is probably more to us really. So like if you're working on your drafts, make sure you're talking to us before you actually go into the final stage. We routinely email the people that are study abroad advisors and financial aid advisors that aren't in this building to let them know, like, here is the date that things need to be certified. So you have a date that everything gets turned in, and then they have like another week to do the back end stuff. So you don't necessarily need to contact anyone that's not in this building about that.
So is it just like more so automatic?
Yeah, I mean, you still have to select a person, but say you pick someone, say you put down like me for your financial aid advisor, right? I'd probably look at your application, see, okay, what program are you doing? Where is this coming from? And then I can switch on the back end who your advisor is. So it's not something that's set in stone when you choose it, and it's definitely something we can work with and make sure that they're in the right place. Yeah. It doesn't hurt. I mean, if you're going through IP anyway, you have to talk to those advisors pretty frequently before you go overseas. Talk to them, see who they would recommend right now putting down as the advisors. Yeah. And then the application is complete. So this is why, though I do not recommend it, I have seen people come in at the 11th hour and write an entire application and be awarded. But they were people that were highly motivated, had no classes that day, and pretty much just sat in front of their computer for 6 hours until they got it done. I don't recommend that. Don't do that to yourself. They were happy, but at what cost? So talk to us early. We're happy to start. We're actually already meeting with people about Gilman. All it takes is contacting us and making an appointment. And I think the contact information might be the next slide. Oh no, okay. So you can contact us to make an appointment. Let us know what your availability is. We'll find a time to meet with you, and then it'll just be starting on those drafts, right? And that first meeting, it might just be outlines, right? It might just be, well, I think I want to talk about this. It might be like a list of ideas of like, well, I could sort of hit X, Y, and Z on this. Do you have recommendations? And that might be where we have more of a conversation about, well, what is your story? What do you want to tell? What matters to you enough that you would go overseas to study abroad? Okay. All right. I show this because, like I said, we've been really fortunate. It says 150. I think we're actually at over 170 at this point. FSU students who've received funding through Gilman. So it's a very, very diverse group of people coming from all sorts of majors. And we've been pretty consistent with having folks funded when they work with us. In fact, FSU students are almost 3 times more likely to be selected as a Gilman recipient if they work with our office, compared to applying solo in the national average. Yeah.
When we apply to Gilman, are we limited to only applying for Gilman, or can we apply for other national fellowships as like backup?
Oh yeah, we apply to all sorts of them. Yeah. Gilman is just one, right? And so what we might do is talk about, well, if you're going here, let's maybe think about some of these other awards that you could stack on top of it.
So we
right?
can stack like multiple awards that go towards one.
As long as it's allowed by the awarding body. What I mean is like with idea grants, for example, they want people to stack with things like Gilman if they can.
Uh-huh.
There are some national awards where they'll say, well, if you're already receiving funding at this time, we're not going to provide like additional funding. So it's just a matter of making sure you're following whatever guidelines that other scholarship or fellowship is providing.
Okay, and then
Yeah.
when we apply for Gilman, do we have to have like a set game plan on what semester we're going, or can we like decide that after we get the funding?
You kind of have to write it with one in mind, but if you needed to change it, it's possible.
So you don't have to have the program that you're applying to, like have that approval while you're applying, but you need to be applying to that as you go, because they understand there's a timeline. So you don't necessarily need to have it completely secured, but you do need to write it with it in mind.
Okay. Thanks.
So where to start? Gilmanscholarship.org, right? You can go in there now, you can start putting down some ideas. We've got tons of videos of past Gilman presentations. If you want to watch a very tall, lanky man talk about Gilman, you can do that on our YouTube page. We've had previous panelists come, that should all be on our YouTube page as well. So you can hear about their experience. Just know that their application was slightly different than what you're going to be doing. If there's a particular region that you're looking at, or you're looking to find someone who has maybe gone to that region, we can also see in our records, like who has gone there recently. Is there someone that we can get you in contact with? For the most part, when we reach out to former Gilman, they are more than happy to talk to people. So it's just a matter of letting us know that you're interested. Did you?
Yeah.
Oh.
How many scholars? Sorry, I woke in late. How many
No.
scholars from FSU each year are selected?
I think last year we had one of our largest cohorts. There were like 17 people that were chosen.
Right. Gotcha. And out of how many students do apply every year?
That worked with us out of that
Yeah.
17, I think was closer to, I think it was like in the high 20s.
Oh wow. Okay.
Yeah.
Nice.
And part of that is that last push.
So that's
right?
like you have like a 50% chance.
Yeah, I mean-
kinda. Yeah. Yeah. No. Like,
Like it's one of our colleagues a few years ago put down like exactly how much like funds FSU students have accumulated through Gilman over the years, and it's a lot. Yeah, and a lot of it is just because they are better able to articulate themselves
Right.
with.
Yeah, right, I
Going
wasn't sure if this
through it,
was gonna
yeah.
like turn into like, oh, only one or two, you guys.
No.
Okay.
FSU has been really fortunate with the number that we've had. People are just really dedicated about it, and I think we have a lot of offices around campus that really want to make sure that people are getting the most out of it.
I like
Yeah.
that.
What are some ways to get involved with ONF? I don't know if I made this.
No, you didn't. I haven't gotten quite there yet. Yeah. So yeah, make the account, research the program, see if there's one here at FSU that makes sense for what you want to do. If there's not, we can also talk about maybe you make your own thing, right? Maybe we can still have that hook up with something that CRE is doing so you can get credit there, right? We want to make sure that you're all set with whatever you do. And schedule an appointment. So this is our contact info. You can see we are a very boutique office. You have 2/3 of us in the room. You can email us. I think that's probably the best way to do this. If you email the onf@fsu.edu, that will go to all three of us. And then the best thing to do is to cut out the middleman on that and say, hey, I'm interested in Gilman. This is my availability for the next 2 weeks, right? And then we can get back to you with an actual scheduled time faster. Just keep in mind, we work Monday through Friday from 8 until 5. I'm glad that you have time on Saturdays, but we do not. So I just would appreciate the understanding there.
Where's the due date for Gilman?
Yeah, the first
So
due
if
date.
I wanna do like summer.
Yeah, so if you wanted to have it applied to summer, you could apply in this October cycle. So it's October 3rd, right?
And March.
Yeah, and March. So you could apply in October. That funding would be available for the spring, summer, and fall following. And if you apply in March, that funding is available in the summer, fall, spring following. So you have a year to use it. It is very, very common for folks that know they're going to be overseas, like in the summer or the fall, to apply in October. And then if they don't get it, we're like, okay, well, let's work through that application and reapply in the spring. Yeah, absolutely. Do you remember?
That was my question.
Oh, there you go.
Thank you.
So yeah, I think that's the easiest way to contact us, but if you are interested in other fellowships or just seeing what all is out there, our website actually has a search function where you can just see like what type of stuff is out there for someone in my field or at my level in school, right? We primarily, as far as social media, it's Instagram and LinkedIn. So if you're on either of those, please feel free to follow us. We post all of our workshops, any of our panels, all that jazz goes on there. And I think that is it for us.
Sorry,
No, you're good.
I was typing and I wasn't listening to the cycle. So if we apply first, like in spring, what was it, like, let's say I want to study abroad, spring 2027, that's how it works, right? You have 1 year to use it?
Yes. Yeah.
Okay, heard that. And when would that deadline be? Sorry,
Typically been in like the middle of March.
middle of March? Okay.
Yeah. I don't know if they've posted a deadline yet for March, but yeah.
Cool, thank you.
But especially because they have this like the new prompts for the essays. We can sort of anticipate it's going to be the same going into spring, like it's gonna be the same type of
Yeah.
prompts. They don't tend to change things between the year like that. So
Yeah.
so if you wanted to, or you had a program already in mind, you could certainly start like thinking about how you want to approach it.
Yeah.
Even if you don't end up applying, I mean, they're not gonna you could go into the portal and make an application, even if you know you're not gonna apply until, the following semester, just to see what it looks like and figure out, okay, how do I want to approach this? They don't go through and kick everyone out if they don't apply. So you have access to that right now if you just want to see what that looks like.
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. Any other questions?
I just wanted to follow up on my question.
Yeah.
How to get involved with the national?
Yeah, so if you send us an email, we can set up an appointment so that we can talk to you about what your goals are and awards that might align with that.
I know that it said like they could work with the office.
Mhm.
Does that mean like a paid position or just?
Oh, no, this is, I mean, we are free, we're free for everyone, we don't have, I think the only. And we occasionally hire like through intern FSU,
Okay.
but we're tiny,
Yeah.
so there's just
Okay.
not, there's not a lot of space frankly for us to have too many people, but yeah. Yeah, absolutely, yeah, thanks for asking. Any other questions? Okay, oh yeah.
Sorry.
Yeah.
I did have a specific question about the
Yeah.
Warren program. I know there's gonna be more information about it tomorrow.
Yeah.
I met a legislative aide who participated in the Warren program, but he said it's something you have to do post grad. I just need to clarify.
He's wrong, and we can
Okay.
talk about that more tomorrow.
Wait,
Tomorrow, we are doing a presentation on language fellowships.
what
So,
time?
What time is it tomorrow?
It's at 1.
At 1?
Here.
Yeah,
Yes,
I think it's sorry. Oh, go ahead.
there's a question.
Yeah, I think it's at 1. Let me check that. Yes, 1 o'clock. It's also on Zoom, so if you register, you can also attend that way if that's
And
easier.
This class.
In this room, yep. Yep.
It said that you'd receive a Zoom or a recording of the Zoom. Yeah,
Mhm.
sure. Or send it out, correct?
Yeah, did you register for the?
Yes. I did.
Yeah, so if you registered, you will be sent a follow-up email that says like, hey, here's the link to view it. If you want to email us to make an appointment, do this, that, and the other. So you'll have all that information. It just probably won't get to you until tomorrow.
Okay.
The question was, what are other financial aid like FAFSA, Bright Futures? And Financial costs?
They can, so some of the, if you have like Bright Futures and you're doing, for instance, an IP program, you can have some of those funds be applied to the international program. That would be a question that we would have you though speak directly to financial aid, just to make sure that it, like, everything is copacetic, because there are some funds that like what 15 credit hours here is and what you get paid for those 15 credit hours, that's the amount that will get applied to IP. So it may cover part of it, but it may not cover all of it. So very, very important to speak with your financial aid advisors.
Is there like special financial aid advisors for international programs, or are they just the normal?
Yeah, they, so IP does have their own set of financial aid advisors that you can talk to, and they work in tandem with the financial aid office.
Oh, so it's in the financial aid.
I believe those financial aid officers are in the IP office.
It's on the website, you can set up a.
Yeah.
Someone asked, how does it work for spouses of active duty?
For the Gilman McCain, it's just a different type of, I think it's an additional essay.
No, sorry, last question. Does the award of Gilman depend on the length of like the study abroad plan that you have? Like if I were to go for like a month versus like a full semester?
Yeah, it has more to do with the cost of the program overall.
Okay.
So not necessarily the length, so they look at it as like the type of program that you're going to and how much that will cost, and then it's usually a sliding scale from there. So they award anywhere, like we had I think like last cycle, the lowest amount that anyone got was 2,500, the highest amount was 5,000, like fully awarded 5,000. Yeah.
I know you mentioned that some scholarships, they like won't give you any money, or like they'll give you less money if you have other financial aid.
Mhm.
Is the Gilman scholarship one of those that'll like give you less if you have other forms of payment?
No, because I don't think you actually have to put in that you're receiving anything else.
Okay.
I was wondering, where's the IP office?
It's in the
stadium.
stadium.
Yeah.
Center A, it's like, I think the fourth or fifth floor. Yeah.
I think it's like you have to walk down this long hallway to get to the back of it or something.
Oh.
Yeah, so. Yeah. Any other questions?
They also do like drop-ins on Zoom.
Yeah, if you don't want, they have their link. So I just email you to book an appointment?
Yeah, if you want to just email the ONF at FSU, that'll go to all of us, so we can get an appointment ready. Yeah. Anything else?
No, that's good.
Okay, if you didn't grab swag or snacks, please do that. For those